Right. Good evening from London and good evening from the Korean Friendship Association of the UK. I hope everyone can actually hear me and welcome to this first ever live broadcast or live stream that we're aiming to do on a fortnightly basis. And basically, at the annual general meeting of KFA UK, a few weeks ago, the suggestion was put forward, why not have a regular live stream, which we, go live and basically read out something, make a few remarks, and then take a few questions from the chat. So that's what we're going to do tonight. It's going to last about an hour or maybe 1.5 hours. I will just read something out and then I'll take a few questions. I mean, it's just me doing it tonight, but probably at the next session, once another activist from KFA UK, Alan Bollen, our organisation secretary, will join, and maybe other KFA UK members will join to say a few things. And for people who've just joined, hello and welcome. Great to see you all here. Anyway, I've prepared a few remarks about some current topics that I thought I would talk about, and then if people want to suggest something to talk about in the chat, please do so. And really, the main theme of tonight is exposing propaganda against People's Korea, which is all pervasive. It saturates the internet space, the social media space all the time, and no lie is too great. Our opponents, our enemies, the other side, the imperialists, believe in what the Nazi minister of propaganda said, that no lie is too big. So anyway, let's just look at a few things tonight. Now, in January, The Guardian, that mouthpiece of the liberal chattering classes and other mainstream media in the UK, carried a story about the UK providing satellite pictures to the United Nations, which purportedly showed that the DPRK was supplying missiles and shells to Russia. And of course, the mainstream media have been insisting at this for some time. And by the way, guess whose auntie is actually a journalist on The Guardian? Yes, none other than Chad O'Carroll's aunt is a journalist or writer on The Guardian. And, for those of you who don't know, Chad O'Carroll is the nasty scumbag who is founder and managing editor of the infamous NK News website, which I'll say a few words about later. Anyway, looking at the story in The Guardian, it is absolute total baloney and full of holes. It refers to an unpublished UK Defence Intelligence report seen by The Guardian, which shows imagery taken between September and December 2023. So, what have we here? An unpublished report by an unnamed UK defence agency, MI5, MI6. This would not look good in court. This does not prove, does this not prove that in fact the Liberal Guardian actually works with the British intelligence services as it has access to unpublished data from them? Clearly, the Guardian, so beloved of the liberal middle class, is being used as a propaganda organ by the deep state to plant misinformation and disinformation. Very tellingly, the article states that the unnamed agency, quote unquote, could not identify what was in the containers. However, the Guardian and the UK authorities are happy to tell the world that the DPRK is selling missiles to Russia, even when they know that they have no real evidence at all. It is shameful that the UK is behind efforts to impose more sanctions on People's Korea, and the Guardian is acting as a mouthpiece of the authorities, parroting all kinds of baloney. And now we come to an old favourite of ours, and I say that in a very ironic way. The BBC, which is very well known for its very extreme anti-DPRK bias, so much so that they actually got banned from entering the DPRK. And of course, we always refer to it as the British Brainwashing Corporation, or maybe it could be the British Baloney Corporation. I mean, you can make up all sorts of funny acronyms on your own. Now, it pretends to be a neutral broadcaster, but in reality is state controlled and has close ties to the intelligence services. People are forced to fund the the BBC through the license fee, and which means that you don't, if you watch BBC TV, you have to pay a license fee, and the money from the license fee not only funds anti-DPRK propaganda, but also the corrupt and decadent lifestyles of BBC journalists who enjoy things like free wine deliveries, private healthcare, and the rest of it. And let us not forget that for years and years, the BBC protected the sexual predator Jimmy Savile and airbrushed out of existence the inconvenient Hugh Edwards scandal. Notice how that all went quiet about Hugh Edwards. He got put in a mental home and nothing else has been heard since. Very convenient for the BBC. Anyway, the latest effort of the BBC to slander and tarnish the socialist system of the DPRK was a programme on BBC Sounds titled Real Dictators, quote unquote. And the usual tired old propaganda cliche, rogue state, quote unquote, is used against the DPRK. How many times has this cliche been repeated? If you could have £1 for each time that cliche was used, you would probably be a millionaire. The DPRK's people-centered socialist system is falsely equated with fascism and Nazism. This is both extreme political illiteracy and a propaganda trick, the so-called horseshoe theory of liberals, which tries to say that communism and fascism are the the same, which of course is absolute nonsense. As everyone knows, People's Korea is a profoundly anti-fascist state, which was actually born out of the struggle against one of the wings or shock brigades of international fascism, Japanese imperialism. There is no monopoly capital in People's Korea that gives rise to fascism, and everything serves the people. Needless to say, the program gave a lot of prominence to those traitors to the socialist Juche motherland who sold out just to have US dollars in their pockets. The so-called testimonies of these scumbags have been repeatedly shown to be untrue, yet the BBC rehashed them and used them as source material. We would strongly uh, urge that all KFA UK members and supporters of People's Korea in Britain should complain to the BBC and cancel their license fee if they can. And another key player in anti-DPRK propaganda is the South Korea South Korea-based website NK News, which is owned by an American company based in the US tax haven of Delaware. NK News has been repeatedly exposed as a CIA disinformation front. Please see my book, The Great Conspiracy Against People's Korea. NK News staff are very creepy people with deep state connections. Recently, NK News carried an article titled, and I quote, Kim Jong-un secretly visits new luxury mall in Pyongyang with China connections, quote unquote. And it was written by someone called Colin Zerko or Zico or something like that. And not much is known about Colin Zerko, though apparently he is the senior analytic correspondent, quote unquote, of NK News. Now, whatever this is when it's at home, because when you consider it, most of the so-called analysis in NK News always turns out to be complete and utter rubbish. In other words, and Colin Zico has a degree from a South Korean university, surprise, surprise. So, in other words, he is part of the shadowy cabal of anti-DPRK propagandists who have been created and nurtured by South Korea. Supposedly, the mall is called the Ruyong Golden Plaza. However, a search of the Korean Central News Agency shows that no such place has been opened, and indeed it appears to be non-existent. You can't find any reference to it on KCNA. This is a fact. The real purpose of the article is to defame People's Korea and to deny its reality by creating a false image of, quote unquote, an elite class in the DPRK. Of course, such a thing does not exist. In fact, the DPRK is one of the most egalitarian societies in the world, with no private property and no rich or poor. No one is homeless or begging on the streets. A delegation of KFA UK in 2018 learned that the wage or income differential is only 1 to 1.5. Now, based on this, if you compare this to the UK civil service, where the differential was 1 to 10, excluding the expenses and perks for the higher caste, and it's much worse in the private sector. And of course, the uh, wage differential in people's career is actually lower than that in the former Soviet Union and in Cuba. And of course, the irony of this is that, of course, NK news staff have lavish lifestyles funded by the US Central Intelligence Agency and the South Korean National Intelligence Service. And a supporter of the Korean Friendship Association and People's Korea in another country had a good answer to people who like to say, and I quote, "Oh, but people in North Korea cannot leave their country, blah, blah, blah." And the answer is that if you have everything that you need in your own country, such as jobs, free housing, free education, healthcare, full old age pensions, and a good quality of life, then why do you need to leave and move somewhere else? It is common sense, really, but this logic excludes the liberals and anti DPRK propagandists. And lastly, I would like to talk very briefly about the Yomi Park meme that I shared on Twitter last week. And of course, Yomi Park is the infamous defector, traitor to the Juche socialist motherland, who lives in the United States. And the meme which contrasted her with an ordinary woman worker in the DPRK attracted many hits on Twitter. In fact, about 250,000 hits, which was incredible. However, it attracted a lot of hate as well. And it should be pointed out that there's nothing actually misogynist or sexist about the meme, because it was actually produced by a woman member of KFA Germany. And of course, Yomi Park is indeed very decadent. So she's got so much plastic surgery that if she stood next to an electric fire, she would probably melt. And, yeah, she does look like a prostitute. And, it was a woman member of KFA making this point. So I don't know why people criticised it. And we hope that in future, more women will actually join KFA and take up their place in the fight to defend people's career with no ifs or buts. And another thing about the meme was it seemed to actually attract a lot of anti-British hate, with people putting on Twitter, "Oh, look, this person who's posted this lives in London." Now, I don't know what that was about. It seems that some Americans hate British people. Well, the United States is a decadent place where people are killing each other all the time. So they've got absolutely nothing to be proud of. And we can add that the US is the biggest and worst imperialist power in history. Anyway, I'm going to conclude my remarks now, and I would just like to point out that today we received 4 new membership applications for KFA UK. So KFA UK is growing all the time. We hope more people would join. but more importantly, not just join, but actually to become active. People coming to events and meetings and so on. We've got a film night lined up for Monday, 26, and we plan some more activities in March and April. So, it's important to make a difference. Don't just uh, sit at home clicking like on Facebook or looking at postings on Telegram or just reading emails. Please get involved and join the struggle to defend people's career with no ifs or buts. Thank you for listening. I'm now going to sort of respond to any points in discussion. Right. Okay, I'll try and take these one by one. Yeah, I mean, just replying to a couple of points. Yeah, quite right. How the hell did NK News get this kind of information? They are not present in Pyongyang. Yes, it's totally made up. Yeah, you know, they're actually in South Korea. They're banned from the DPRK after Alex Sigley got caught spying in the DPRK. He was an NK News reporter, and he tricked his way into becoming a student at Kim Il Sung University and used uh, the you know position he had to gather information, to spy, and to post information, post misinformation on the NK News website. And yeah, what's a North Korea? Well, I don't really understand that question. Lovely greetings from the Finland Korea Society. Well, with the Finland Korea Friendship Association and KFA Finland, they are separate organisations. And how how can I become a member? Well, you can join through the website. I'll put a link uh, in a minute in the chat so people can join KFA through the link. Yes, quite right. NK News, as well as being very reactionary, has become extremely boring. Well, I think it's always been boring. And yeah, greetings to my friend from Turkey. Right. Yes, and yeah, there's going to be the film night on Monday, 26, and yeah, the film is one day, sorry, one night, one day, which is about the struggle against factionalists. in the DPRK in the 1950s, and we'd be showing that on Monday night. And if you're new, you need to fill out the form and register for it. You know, that is a security procedure. Right. Okay. Next questions, please. Greetings from Namibia. Well, we're very happy to have attracted people from Namibia, which, of course, that country is an old friend of the DPRK. The DPRK actually aided SWAPO in the past, and Sam Nujuma, or Nojoma, was a good friend of the DPRK. Yes, we accept film suggestions. Uh, you know, if you email or message us with film suggestions, we try to take those on board. We get quite a lot of suggestions for films, but you know, we've got another 9 months in the year to show films, so we should be able to take on board everyone's suggestions. Okay, yes, I will wait for your suggestions later then. Okay, are there any other questions? Please ask. I'm going to stay around here for a bit longer. It's gone a bit more quickly than I actually thought. Right, so any more questions? I mean, it's great to have 14 people here. I'm sure actually more people will actually watch it because this will be saved. Right. Well, if there's no more questions, I mean, I'll just throw out a few suggestions. As say, you know, one of the key players in the anti-DPRK propaganda campaign is, of course, the BBC, or British Brainwashing Corporation. Who thinks we should picket the BBC again, and when? And are there any ideas for slogans we should use? Yeah, I mean, we just seen the question in the chat. Yeah, we would like to involve KFA Turkey. Yeah, we could do a joint event with them, and they're welcome to join the different online meetings, etc. Uh, you know, uh, if they can. But as you say, they're not on social media very much, or well, they're on Twitter, but you know, apart from that, I don't see an awful lot from them. Right. You know, fire, please go ahead with any more questions. Right. Well, so there's doesn't seem to be any further questions. Might as well use the time to talk a bit about the DPRK's new line on South Korea. Now, we've already covered that topic in a online meeting and in one or two other places, and in uh, different social media posts, and it's a topic that I think there's misunderstandings about, and basically at the ninth plenum uh, of the Eighth Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, and at the Supreme People's Assembly session in January, the changed line on reunification was sort of first of all put forward and then explained, and then some uh, key decisions were made, and of course one of them was to demolish the Arch of Reunification, as it was called, or more accurately, the Monument to the Free Charters of National Reunification. And at the same time, the DPRK dissolved a number of bodies, you know, connected with cooperation with South Korea, and rightly scrapped the Mount Kumgang special tourist zone, which I think was absolutely the right thing to do. And of course, the ultra left have criticised the DPRK a lot over special zones and tried to say that the DPRK is like China, etc. And that's not true, because what the scrapping of the Mount Kumgang zone actually proved, that these are in fact reversible. The DPRK's sovereignty in all parts of the DPRK is absolute, and it can do what it liked. And getting back to the main point, basically, the DPRK People's Korea tried for peaceful reunification for many years, going back to 1972, when you had the July the 4th joint statement between the DPRK and South Korea, which basically stipulated peaceful reunification on the basis of independence and great national unity. And then you had the first ever Inter-Korean summit in June 2000, June 15th, and an Inter-Korean summit in 2007, and also a series of Inter-Korean summits in rapid succession in 2018, and all of which achieved absolutely nothing at all. And in fact, I can speak as someone who has been a visitor to the DPRK in the past, and I remember visiting Panmunjom in August 2017 as part of the International Festival in praise of the great persons of Mount Paktu. And we went to Panmunjom and, saw the Armistice Hall and the military demarcation line. And it seemed fairly tense indeed. And of course, this was at a time when Trump had talked about fire and fury, and going around the DPRK at that time, we saw armed worker peasant Red Guards and armed Red Young Guards on the street, ready to fight. Anyway, fast forward to October 2019, when I visited the DPRK again with a couple of KFA UK members. And we went down to Panmunjom, K Song and Panmunjom in a minibus, and went again to Panmunjom. And do you know something? Absolutely nothing had changed from 2017. In fact, the tension looked even more acute. And this was despite 3 inter-Korean summits, an inter-Korean military agreement, uh, and of course the summits with Donald Trump. And I think proved quite graphically that the policy of trying to peacefully reunify with South Korea wasn't working. And the DPRK has been, I think, very honest. It has been very brave, and is sort of owned up and said, "Well, this doesn't work, so we're abandoning it now." And indeed, I always privately wondered, how socialism and capitalism could actually exist within, the same country. Socialism and capitalism cannot really coexist within one country, or indeed even in the world. I mean, this is a fact. And I think a lot of the so-called inter-Korean agreements and things like the Kaesong Industrial Park and the Mangkum Gang special zone were in fact a conspiracy by South Korea to destroy Juche-based socialism. And those of us who remember the summits in 2018, there was all these stories. Oh, the DPRK is going to sell out. It's going to open up. They're going to open McDonald's and Burger King in Pyongyang and I think KFC. They're going to join the IMF and so on. Of course, none of this happened, thanks to the correct and revolutionary leadership of Marshal Kim Jong-un. And I think by abandoning the idea of peaceful reunification, they've also slammed the door shut on capitalist restoration in the DPRK. So they've done the right thing. Anyway, loads more questions have come up. So I'm going to sort of try and take them one by one. Will the DPRK be military more involved with its alliance with Russia, and how can this benefit the DPRK? Right, I mean, the sort of DPRK develops its external relations on the basis of independence. And of course, Russia is a neighboring country with the DPRK. And, maybe there are possibilities for military cooperation between the two countries, but the DPRK would never allow foreign troops to be stationed on its soil. It doesn't need that. And there's been all sorts of stories and propaganda about the, first of all, it was said that DPRK would supply 100,000 troops to Russia. This was denied, and no proof was actually provided that this was happening. And indeed, there are no DPRK troops fighting in the Ukraine. And similarly, there's false stories about DPRK missiles in the Ukraine. The DPRK has always condemned this. Now, of course, the DPRK will cooperate with Russia on the basis of independence. and there may be economic cooperation between the DPRK and Russia, and this would be on the basis of mutual benefit. So the next question. In Turkey, tours that DPRK start from next April. Will you also go to visit your comrades in your own country? Well, I possibly may travel to the DPRK. It's not been confirmed yet, so it needs to be confirmed. Do you have uh, do you have any plans to meet Comrade Kim Jong-un personally as KFA UK? I have no plans. I do not know whether such a meeting would be possible. Uh, Comrade Kim Jong-un is a very modest and humble man and doesn't meet many foreigners. Okay. From Ashley, can you speak on the establishment of diplomatic relations between Cuba and the South Korean puppets? Oh, well, that is a controversial question. But it's an interesting one. So far, the DPRK has not made any statements about the establishment of relations between Cuba, the Republic of Cuba, and South Korea. There's been no comments. And I think it would have been helpful if the Cuban authorities had explained their reasoning behind the establishment of relations with South Korea, because it can have several interpretations. One, that they've done this because of the recent changes of in policy of the DPRK towards South Korea. In which case, in my personal opinion, I'm speaking as Dermot Hudson, the man, and not on behalf of KFA UK. In my personal opinion, this is a very premature move because, in fact, the DPRK actually also declared South Korea its number one enemy. So this does not look very good that Cuba have done this. And I think they need to clarify their reasoning behind it and whether they did this with consultation with the DPRK, their long-standing ally. You've got very close ties between Cuba and the DPRK. In fact, Major Ernesto Che Guevara actually said that People's Korea was the socialist country that he admired the most. And Fidel Castro praised the DPRK as well. And in the 80s, the DPRK supplied Cuba with 100,000 automatic weapons, virtually free of charge. So there's strong historical ties between the countries. However, we cannot pretend that what Cuba has done is very disappointing in the least. Again, speaking on my own behalf, and in no way officially on behalf of the DPRK or KFA, I mean, I would hope that Cuba would reverse the decision and live up to its traditions of proletarian internationalism. And I think, this does leave a lot of question marks about Cuba, the fact they've done this. You wonder whether that, revisionism has set in Cuba. In Britain, and elsewhere, I believe in Spain and Brazil and a few other countries, you've got Cuba fans. Oh, yes, Cuba's wonderful. Oh, they've done this, they've done that. Oh, they've got free healthcare, blah, blah, blah. They're more liberal than the DPRK, and all we like Cuba because it's liberal. But other people have said, oh, Cuba is revisionist, uh, that it's opening up and reforming. I believe there was even a Marriott hotel in Cuba. Yes, a US hotel in Cuba. You know, what is that doing in a socialist country? Uh, so, yeah, I mean, I don't see what Cuba has done as being positive. I would hope they would reverse the decision, and I think they honestly do need to clarify what they've done and what is going on. Sort of moving on to the next question. Do you believe that the allies of the DPRK can act as a mediator in dealing with the South to ease tensions, or is it solely an act of capitulation to the West? Well, I mean, the answer uh, to that is that DPRK believes in independence, and it believes in dealing with these questions by itself, not with a mediator. You know, it can deal with these issues by itself. There is no need for a mediator. And next question. Hello to all. Are there any infrastructure for people who would like to move uh, to the DPRK? Well, I don't fully understand the question. I think perhaps the word infrastructure is not the correct word. But with regard moving to the DPRK, there are a very limited number of teaching positions in the DPRK. You can teach, uh, you know, a foreign English as a foreign language in the DPRK, but the positions are very rare. I don't know if they're accepting foreign teachers at the moment because you know the country has been closed to foreigners for about the last few years, and slowly people are, you know, they're opening the borders step by step. So there may be a possibility for, you know, a tiny number of people to go and teach in the DPRK, probably from next year, and also to study at Kim Il Sung University, which accepts some foreign students uh, as well. And yeah, I mean, also those who fight for independence and socialism and peace uh, can claim asylum in the DPRK, but this uh, has to be, you know, with a proven track record of doing so. You know, I've had people come to me and say, "Oh, they put a posting on Facebook, so you know, can they claim asylum because they think that they're fighting for socialism by posting on Facebook?" But I think it takes a lot more than that. You know, people actually getting involved in the struggle and getting persecuted by the authorities would qualify as proven track record. Yes, yeah, there is no DPRK embassy in Greece. I would suggest you contact KFA Greece. They're very active indeed. They're active, very active indeed. So if you contact them, you can find them on Facebook and Telegram. And yeah, a up, comrade. Yes, a up and everything. And someone that doesn't look like they've completed the post they were going to put. But anyway, Right. Okay. Are you aware of the Japanese socialist Ikikita? What are your thoughts on him? Well, to be totally honest, uh, with you, I've never heard of this person before. And that's the honest truth. Can foreigners open businesses in the DPRK on behalf of the DPRK, for example, open a teaching business there? Well, I mean, the answer is basically no, you can't open a teaching business because in the DPRK, all education is state education and it is free of charge. Uh, you know, there are joint ventures, however, between foreign companies and the DPRK, and some places where uh, foreign businesses can operate, but you couldn't actually open a teaching business. The DPRK is not looking uh, for foreigners to open businesses, teaching. Uh, as I said above, it is possible that uh, you can teach at a DPRK university. You can teach English or other foreign languages, but the openings for that are very, very limited. Okay, just any more questions, please go ahead. Right, okay. I've just put the link to join KFA in the chat. Okay. What introduced you to Juche? Well, I get asked that question at least twice a year, and it's a long story. You can read about it in several different books, like Travels in the Land of Juche, Korea, which is a you can freely download it. But anyway, as I'm here and as people are, have turned up for this live session, I'm not going to be lazy and not answer it. It's a bit of a long story. I'll try and summarize it. Uh, when I was a lad, I was in the Communist Party of Great Britain, which no longer exists. That party dissolved itself in 1991. But I was in the Communist Party of Great Britain down in Hampshire. I was at university and I became very disillusioned with the Communist Party of Great Britain, believing it to be very revisionist. Now, in those days, the Communist Party of Great Britain was, I think it's reasonable and fair to say, it was quite badly split, split into several factions. But the main sort of schism or chasm was between what people like to call tankies, which is a bit of a silly term, really, because a lot of the people who were called tankies really weren't that hard line. Anyway, it was, between tankies and pro-Sovietists and the Euro communists who were sort of you were against the socialist countries, wanted to move away from class struggle and move away from class politics, were very keen on certain forms of identity politics. And so, anyway, I didn't like either side. And, some people in those days, they put forth the Soviet Union as, the ultimate bastion of hardline communism and, headquarters of world revolution, bastion of international communism, this sort of thing. But, when I studied the Soviet Union a bit, I found it was also very revisionist, even before perestroika, in glasnost, which Gorbachev initiated. But the rot was there even before Gorbachev. And one of the things that shocked me, and some people like to laugh about this, but one of the things that shocked me was that the USSR had even opened a Pepsi Cola factory on its territory, and that shocked me. I thought, well, why the hell are they doing this? Why is a socialist country allowed this rubbish to exist on its sacred soil? So I was looking for an alternative, basically, to the both the revisionist USSR and the dreadfully revisionist CPGB. So I looked at different countries. While Cuba, I had an admiration for, but didn't know enough about it. And it was also an ally of the Soviet Union. China, well, that had gone funny after Mao passed away. It had gone in for reform and opening up. I could never understand why they did this. There was Albania, who they were sort of like nutty as fruitcakes, and attacked everyone else. Very sectarian. And then I came across this country, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which I started trying to study it. I read a essay by the American historian Bruce Cummings on the DPRK. And, Bruce Cummings is, I was going to say, one of the better US writers on the DPRK, but I think it's more accurate to say that he uh, is less bad or not as bad as some of the other US writers. But I mean, he's not by any stretch of the imagination pro DPRK. But anyway, I read his essay on the DPRK in volume series of volumes called Marxist Regimes: A World Survey, and I became quite curious about the DPRK. I was interested, in fact, that it had relations with both the USSR and China, and it had its own way of doing things. So I resolved to find out more about it, and in 1984, the Observer Colour supplement carried, believe it or not, a relatively favourable article on the DPRK by an Australian journalist called Murray Sale. Now, today, they would never ever publish such an article. And it said about the DPRK having free housing and that there was no food shortage, no starvation. So I thought, that sounds good. This sounds like a good place. And in the end, I was able to find some second-hand works of President Kim Il Sung and some old books from the 70s published by the DPRK in a second-hand bookshop in the back streets of Southampton. And it was quite funny because I asked a member of a pro-Soviet group, "Well, where can I buy the works of President Kim Il Sung?" And he said, "Oh, there's a bookshop in Northern Road selling President Kim Il Sung's works, but you don't want to read those. Oh no, you want to read Novosti books like that." Uh, and his eyes lit up at the mention of Novosti, which was the Soviet publishing house. But I decided, I'm going to find out things for myself. So I read the works of President Kim Il Sung, and I was strongly impressed by the uh, anti-imperialist stance, the militantly socialist and communist stance in the work, his criticism of revisionism. And I was impressed reading the book about the DPRK, how they'd abolished taxation, had excellent social services, etc. It was very good indeed. So I was very, very, very impressed by it. And I learned that they were guided by something called the Juche idea, which at the time seemed very, very new, never heard of it before. It was never discussed in the old Communist Party of Great Britain. They never, ever discussed Juche, neither did any other British left group. So I resolved to study the Juche idea, and I formed a Juche idea study group with a few friends down in Hampshire. And basically, that's how it all began. Hope that answers your question. Okay, let's see. Right, okay. And I'll just put a link to the book Travels in the Land of Juche Korea, which is it's a free download. You don't need to pay anything. And that in the prologue explains how I became interested in Juche. Okay, KFA UK Telegram. Yeah, I'll just put that up for you. There we are. Put up. Yeah, I'll put the link for KFA Telegram. So you should be able to get that. We've got 356 subscribers on Telegram, which is good going. We're almost the biggest KFA entity on Telegram. Right, only Italy are bigger than us. Uh, however, we really need to go beyond Telegram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, and so on, and actually get people coming to the meetings, which would be great. Anyway, are there any further questions? I'm sure there's a few, and I can continue going for another 15 minutes if people want. So please fire away with your questions. Maybe there's a lag with with okay. DPRK has positive relations with Syria. The government is in coalition with the Social Nationalist Party. Are you opposed to working with nationalists? Well, I mean, we are opposed to working with Nazis and fascists and racists. That is true. However, Chairman Kim Jong Il and President Kim Il Sung made distinctions in kinds of uh, kind different kinds of nationalism, and Chairman Kim Jong Il wrote a work on correctly understanding nationalism, and that recently came up at the Q&A session we had last Saturday. And I can post the answers to that here, but I'm not dodging the question. Yeah, I mean, in some cases, we would work with anti-imperialist nationalists, uh, in third world countries, would unite uh, with them against US and world imperialism. So, yeah, we wouldn't be, a carte blanche opposition to nationalism, but I think it's important to distinguish between genuine nationalism, the love of a nation and the desire for independence, with bourgeois nationalism, with national chauvinism, with great power chauvinism. But yeah, in certain cases, yeah, we do cooperate with nationalists, and I will actually just try to find the answers I gave last week on that question, which might sort of be useful and inform the discussion. And yeah, I would point out, as we also do a Q&A session at which people can submit questions, and myself and Alan Bollen and occasionally others from KFA UK answer those questions. But we, as say, because it was requested at the AGM, we're also doing these live broadcasts as well. Right. Well, I'll just wait to see if there's another question. Right. Okay. I see on Twitter you complain about ultra lefties. Yes, indeed, I do complain about the ultra left, because as well as you know what some people in KFA UK call the usual suspects, the establishment, the right, the imperialists, modern revisionists, and the fake left. You now seem to have an ultra left uh, uh, sort of opposition to the DPRK, who are tried to say the DPRK is revisionist and criticise the DPRK from a point of view of pure socialism. And I would say that this tendency is different, as certain characteristics. Usually they claim that they uphold Mao, Stalin, Enver Hoxha, etc. They ignore the fact that actually Mao was a great friend of people's career, and met President Kim Il Sung probably more than any other foreign leader. Uh, and, you know, the DPRK were represented at Mao's funeral, but some people who self-describe themselves as Maoists ignore all this, and they see China under Mao as being one of the only models of socialism, or the model of socialism, which is both a big power chauvinist approach and an ultra leftist approach. And the variants of this kind of ultra leftism is those who also invoke the legacy of Enver Hoxha to attack the DPRK. And, it reduces itself to basically an abstract concept of pure socialism. And what I find ironic about a lot of these people is their ideal socialist country would have surely been democratic Kampuchea under Pol Pot, which actually did do all the sort of things they wanted, like trying to abolish money immediately and immediately abolishing classes, and trying to advance to full communism, even though the country had probably one of the lowest productive bases in the whole world. And yeah, I mean, I would have thought that this would have been, for the ultra lefties, would have been the ideal socialist countries, but the ideal socialist country, but they seem to either ignore it or say, oh, it was fascist, or it was the CIA behind it, which is not true. Pol Pot was an example of ultra leftism in power, and I think we too often forget that, as well as like the right deviation in socialist countries, revisionism, which we saw in the USSR and East European countries, that there is also an ultra-left deviation, which was less prominent, less well known, but existed in China in the 1960s and to some extent in Albania. And as say, the most representative example was democratic Kampuchea under Pol Pot. So basically, that's how I define ultra leftism. The idea of a pure and abstract socialism, or basically looking back to models of socialism which do not exist anymore and are, now very long, far in the past. Right. Okay. Oh, we're getting a lot of interesting questions. Do the DPRK leaders use Hegel's dialectics like Lenin, Marx, and Engels did? Well, the Juche idea actually takes dialectical materialism as a premise. It doesn't reject dialectical materialism, accepts that the world is made of matter and is constantly changing. So, you could say in a very general sense, yes, the DPRK accepts dialectics. Do you believe that there is a democratic solution, or do you believe in revolution? Well, I believe in revolution, but I think it's wrong to sort of counterpose it with democracy, because a revolution can only succeed if it has the support of the majority of the people. Therefore, a revolution is democratic. Was Trotsky ultra left? That's an interesting one, because some people say that Trotskyism is ultra left, and at some points of his career, Trotsky posed as the left opposition within the CPSU, and tried to set himself up as a leftist critic of the USSR. And indeed, when I was in the old revisionist Communist Party of Great Britain, we were always told that Trotsky was ultra left. Trotskyites are ultra left. They put forward impossible slogans. Uh, However, that's not really the case. Uh, Che Guevara actually said that Trotsky was the most famous was a revisionist, just like Khrushchev. And when I was in the DPRK, they also said, "Oh, Trotsky was a revisionist." He was a famous revisionist, uh, and in reality, Trotskyism is like a mixture of social democracy and revisionism. And if you actually look at Trotsky's real record and look it up, in fact, he was actually a Menshevik uh, when there was the split of the Russian Social Democratic and Labour Party. He was actually in the Menshevik faction opposed to the Bolshevik faction, and only became a Bolshevik when the October Revolution was successful. Uh, and of course, later he showed his true colours. And if you look at the policies of the bigger Trotskyite parties in Britain, like the Socialist Workers' Party and the Socialist Party, you will actually see that they are basically left reformists. They're not really ultra left. Their policies are just like a left wing version of the Labour Party, and that's what they really are. They really are at best left social democrats. However, they are collaborators with imperialism. They put forward pro-imperialist slogans. They repeat imperialist propaganda about the DPRK often. And the worst ever Trotskyite group in Britain is the Alliance for Workers' Liberty, which is pro-Ukraine, pro-Northern Ireland loyalists, pro-Israel. You can't get any worse than them. And in fact, a lot of people think they were set up by the British state. So anyway, that's the end of the rant about Trotskyism. Ooh, well, we starting to get off the subject of uh, of the DPR DPRK, and it's sort of getting on to general politics. With Pol Pot, uh, uh, I think you can find secondhand a book by Gareth Porter. I think I've got the name right about the early period of the Khmer Rouge when they first came to power, uh, which is positive. It's called Cambodia Starvation and Revolution. And I think there was an essay by Malcolm Caldwell, who was actually killed in Kampuchea in the 70s. He was a university lecturer at SOAS, and he wrote a few essays about Kampuchea. I mean, so should look him up. But you'll have to email me or message me if you've got my email address, or me on Telegram or Facebook or something, and I'll try and give you some recommendations. And yes, I will. I've got the email about the show on Sunday. I will consider coming on, and I'll discuss further with you on the email. Who would you vote for in the general elections? Well, I mean, the obvious answer is certainly not the Tories. That's the obvious answer. I mean, I would probably abstain in the general election and not vote. It's just bourgeois democracy, and you're just choosing between one exploiter over the other. You're deciding who's going to exploit you. But I don't have a dogmatic and hard and fast opinion of that. What is your opinion on the Japanese Communist Party that uh, does not support the DPRK? Well, there's a long history with the Japanese Communist Party. In fact, they actually did support the DPRK, but back in the 1960s. But that party became very revisionist. It adopted a sort of peculiar Japanese form of Eurocommunism. And increasingly, it took Japanese chauvinist positions as well as revisionist positions. It became a supporter of Japanese imperialism, and it even criticized the DPRK for enforcing a territorial fishing limit, stopping the Japanese from fishing in DPRK waters and stealing all the fish. It was protecting DPRK fishermen. But the Japanese Communist Party thought that was wrong. They also apparently had issues with Korean residents in Japan. But I would put it down to basically revisionism in the JCP and big power and Japanese great nations chauvinism. I mean, I would hope that one day the JCP can break with revisionism and support people's career again. Well, a simple question. When can we expect more streams? Well, we're going to do another one in 2 weeks, and I hope that one, Alan Bollen can join as well. So we've got more people speaking, not just myself doing all the speaking. But we're going to try and hold these every 2 weeks. The response to this one has been fairly good. So, I think we can continue it. So, look out for another one in about 2 weeks. Why isn't, and please call it the DPRK or People's Korea? Why isn't the DPRK in BRICS? Well, the plain and simple answer is that the DPRK does not join blocs, and BRICS is a bloc. The DPRK didn't join Comecon or the Council for Mutual Economic Assistance. It didn't join the Warsaw Pact either. I mean, I wouldn't rule out the DPRK joining BRICS, but as a general principle, it does not join blocs. Yes, I agree with that assessment of the Japanese Communist Party. Well, with religion and the state, the state and religion should be separated. The DPRK is a secular state. There are constitutional protections for religious believers, and you do have some religious believers in the DPRK, like Buddhists who have their own temples. You also have Chondoists, which is a Korean religion, and of course, you do have Christians, several denominations of Christians, such as Catholics. I mean, I've been to the Catholic Church in Pyongyang a long time ago. You've also got a Protestant church, and you've got a Russian Orthodox church. So that's the DPRK's position on religion. Yeah, South Korea has a low birth rate, yes. I mean, the DPRK's birth rate is higher than South Korea. But recently, respected Marshal Kim Jong Un expressed concern uh, over the DPRK's birth rate and called for women to have more children. And the DPRK has a number of measures to encourage women to have more children. In the DPRK, mothers who've got 3 children or more are allowed to work a 6-hour day, but get paid for 8 hours. And there are very good childcare facilities in the DPRK. And of course, childcare in the DPRK is free, whereas South Korea, it's very expensive to have a child. So most people in South Korea choose not to have children. Yeah, I mean, I think it's more accurate to say that they actually went to the Presbyterian church rather than that they were Presbyterian Christians. But yeah, I mean, President Kim Il Sung studied Christianity. He also studied Buddhism and Chondoism and Marxism, Leninism. So all of these were influential in forming his beliefs. Right. It's now nearly 8:30. Are there any? I'll take one more question, and then that's got to be it for the evening. So if someone's got one more, and then we close. Right. I know there can be a bit of a time lag with StreamYard. Top 5 favourite leaders. Well, it's obviously going to be respected Marshal Kim Jong Un, President Kim Il Sung, Chairman Kim Jong Il, uh, Stalin, and Che Guevara. Right, with the last question, is eventually implement the 6-hour workday. Well, in fact, already uh, you've got a 6-hour workday for, as I've explained, women with 3 or more children, but also some workers who work in very heavy industry like mining or steelworks. Uh, you know, can have a 6 or 7 hour working day, and certainly the DPRK is planning to advance towards communism. This was never abandoned as the reactionaries and people like NK News tried to pretend. Productivity in DPRK industry is increasing. There's the increasing use of science and technology. Uh, so, um, in uh, my opinion, yeah, I think material conditions will, in the DPRK, will improve enough to allow at some point in the future for the implementation of the 6-hour workday. Right, and well, we've got some very big questions, which is gonna would take about several live streams to answer. Do you think Russia will return to the USSR? Well, I think lots of us here would like it to. but whether it will is another matter. And Putin himself has actually uh, made it clear that he doesn't believe in the restoration of the USSR, or the restoration of socialism. However, there's the aspiration amongst many Russian people and people in the former Soviet republics for the restoration of socialism and the restoration of the USSR. So perhaps maybe one day this will happen, but I don't know when, and it's something that only people in Russia can decide. Okay. Well, I thank everybody for being on the stream. Thank you for your questions. I hope uh, you know, people think I've answered that. Oh, there's just one more. Yeah, I mean, there are Korean groups who work in the US who work with the DPRK. As I'm in contact with you on email, I will perhaps give you a few links. Anyway, thank you again, everybody, for listening. And I'm going to be back in 2 weeks. I think this has been fairly successful. I mean, the original idea was to run this on an experimental basis to see how it works, but it seems to have worked tonight. So I'm going to be back in 2 weeks, and hopefully other people in the KFA UK leadership are going to join. So there's more than one person, answering the questions. So anyway, good night, everyone. Have a good evening, and see you all again in 2 weeks. And I think I will see some of you again at the film night and in different meetings and events that are coming up. So have a good evening, everyone, and stay safe. Goodbye.